Coming to you today from Tombstone, Arizona. We are checking out their historic courthouse, built in 1882. Many a criminal was tried and hanged right here on this property. We head down over here to Allen Street. That's sort of the main drag here in Tombstone, where a lot of the famous sites are. Here's one I recognize. Big Nose Kate's Saloon. Of course, named after the famous girlfriend to one Doc Holliday. It's actually one of the more established bars and restaurants here in town. It is still the morning right now, so they're not open just yet. Fun fact, Big Nose Kate's Saloon was investigated in an episode of Ghost Adventures. In fact, the Ghost Adventures crew has done several episodes here in Tombstone. In fact, just about every paranormal show has done a feature on Tombstone. It is famously haunted, including the Birdcage Theater. This is actually one of the oldest buildings here in town, right in front of which is where Marshal Fred White got gunned down. You might remember that from that famous scene in Tombstone. Powers Booth accidentally shoots the marshal. Ooh, the Oriental Saloon. This was the one Wyatt Earp actually worked at. He was co-owner alongside Milt Joyce, just like in the movie. Still standing in its original location. All right, wandered Allen Street, main drag. Pretty cool, kind of what you'd expect out of an old town like this. A lot of little, gift shops and ice cream and stuff like that. Not real friendly as far as filming, so not sure if I'm gonna be able to get in too many of the stores, but I did secure a ticket to this afternoon's gunfight, so we're gonna check that out. I always like to try to be a patron if I can when visiting these kind of places, and got myself a little OK Corral Tombstone refrigerator magnet. Probably smile looking at that for years to come. They've got Tombstone everything here at the gift shops. I had to jump on this little chapstick. I mean, where else would you find such a thing? I'll give this town credit. They do a fantastic job preserving just the history of the area. There are so many historic markers and plaques everywhere. Like, I doubt I even read all of them, and I must have read 20 of them. It was quite impressive. And they mark a lot of the interesting sites where gunfights happened and stuff like that. Some of them you gotta pay to get into, i.e. the OK Corral. But man, I'm excited. We're gonna check out a freaking gunfight at the OK Corral, literally where it happened. You just can't escape the historical sites here. They are everywhere. If you spit on the ground, probably spit on something historic. Alrighty, it's time to head to the OK Corral, check out that gunfight. Fingers crossed that since I paid for a ticket, they'll allow me to film in there. I'm pretty sure they should, but find out either way. Yeah, it looks like with your ticket to the gunfight, you also get access to their little museum. A few little displays here set up outside. Some old saddles, firefighting equipment. Pretty interesting, but pretty sure most people just come here for the guns. Looks like the way.
6th, 1881. Heavily armed cowboy Ike Clinton wandered the streets of Tombstone, threatening to kill the Earps or Doc on sight.
Ooh, it's about to go down. Well, as intense as that was, but we go check out the real gunfight. They do actually do a proper one with actors and blanks.
You want to fight? Why don't you take Morgan?
Frank, you've been threatening my family for months now. He's got every right to gun you down.
He's doing just fine, Doc. Well, they're not far from here. Held up in the empty lot behind the OK Corral on Fremont Street. And the boys, they've got guns. Then we will disarm them. Oh, I don't want that! Holiday! I got you now, you filthy looker! You plays away, Frank. You're a daisy if you do. 18-year-old Billy Clinton. Dead. That was it. Over before it ever started. 2 months after this gunfight, Virgil Earp was ambushed outside the Crystal Palace Saloon. 3 shotguns went off, but he still refused to die.
Well, it's not Broadway, but pretty good little reenactment. Definitely worth the $10. It's just cool to say you've done it at the actual place. And of course, right next to where the gunfight took place is the famous C.S. Fly's photo studio. This was the building that Ike Clanton ran into when the gunfight ensued. And they've got a lot of really unique photographs from this era, including many of their interactions with the local Apache tribes. This was actually the area where Geronimo ultimately surrendered to the U.S. Army. This happened in 1886 and ended his stand against the invading Mexican and U.S. forces. Over here's the room that Doc Holliday was staying in, where his girlfriend Big Nose Kate watched the gunfight right there through this window. Finally, over here, they got a display about the world's oldest profession. Got some of the little cribs they used to do their work in, these soiled doves, as they call them. Eesh, not the most beautiful gals you ever seen. Wyatt did all right. Still got a few more things to check out on the inside. Some carriage here. My favorite thing has got to be this period-correct 1860 saddle that Kurt Russell rode in the movie Tombstone. That's pretty cool. What in the Star Wars? I literally just came outside to this. This has got to be the coolest. It's got to be the coolest photo op ever. Oh my god. Clearly everyone wants to get in on this, but oh man, there's Boba Fett. Flamethrower, Stormtrooper, Jawa. Oh, and that's even the speeder bike guy. He's got Baby Yoda. Oh, this is seriously like my favorite 2 genres ever coming together. Hey there. Good day. Man, any given day in Tombstone.
Maybe tomorrow a bullet may find me. Tonight nothing's worse than is pain in my heart. And at last here I am on a hill overlooking El Paso. I can see Rose's cantina below. My love is strong and it pushes me onward. Down off the hill to Felina I go. Off to my right I see 5 mounted cowboys.
Live music certainly adds a nice touch. Man, we got to check out this birdcage.
Trimmed out with 24-karat gold leaf, sterling silver fixtures all around.
Thank you.
That's the store. 2 sets of stairs. If you think you see anything, take more than one.
Okay. I love that they tell you what to do if you see a ghost. To take more than one picture. That's pretty funny. Like I said, this place has been featured on just about every ghost-related show in existence. It has got to be probably the most famous haunted location, at least in this side of the country. These days, it is likely the paranormal that draws in just as many tourists as any other historic or otherwise reasoning. But back in the day, definitely famous as not only a theater, but certainly a gambling hall. Here we see one of the faro tables, like you see depicted in the movie Tombstone. But also definitely had some poker games going on. In fact, downstairs is a particularly significant poker table we're going to check out. And also Curly Bill's barber chair, because why not? As I recall, Ghost Adventures captured an entity of sorts right around this hearse. Got this weird mist-like apparition floating away from it right as somebody claimed they felt a presence. Pretty interesting. Kind of behind / underneath the actual stage of the theater. And back here is where that infamous poker game ran. The world's longest poker game. This ran non-stop for 8.5 years. I don't know how that's even possible. Non-stop. And the fact that it was a $1,000 buy-in is pretty significant too. I mean, that's 1881. Like, that would be, I'm trying to look up an inflation calculator. I mean, that would have been about somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 to buy in today's dollars. So, some pretty heavy hitters were playing back here. That was pretty cool. Never been inside the Birdcage before. Pretty cool to see those old booths where they used to watch the shows and such. Wouldn't mind going in there at night. I feel like might be the time to do it. Catch yourself some spookiness. I think the only place I've really ever seen it other than this was at Knott's Berry Farm. They have a recreation. Nice to know it still exists in its original form. $15 to get in. Not too bad. Man, today Big Nose Kate's got quite the long wait to get in there. Wouldn't mind dropping by there a little later. Ah, what a fun day though. I do believe I saw everything I aimed to see, and a few things I would have never guessed. Like Boba Fett versus Wyatt Earp. That was definitely not something you expect to see anywhere, to be quite honest. Those were some good costumes too. The stormtroopers and stuff, those were very thorough. I bet they cost an arm and a leg. Very cool to see though. We still got one more stop before we retire for the evening. And that is the world famous Boot Hill Cemetery. Perhaps the most famous cemetery in all of the United States. Right over here we got Old Man Clanton, father to Billy and Ike. In fact, Billy, son, buried right next to him. One of the gentlemen killed in the infamous shootout. Of course, these three famously had their bodies carried through the streets of Tombstone in a huge public spectacle for ultimately being buried together here at Boot Hill. Murdered in the streets by the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday, who, as we know, insisted on being there. That is a hell of a thing for you to say to me. And a lot of really iconic tombstones here in Tombstone. So many of them you see on like Halloween decorations and stuff like that. That Lester Moore one, I mean, I've seen that countless times. Pretty crazy to see the original one where the dude is actually buried. It's pretty cool. They give you this information to go with it. Let's check this out. Joseph Ziegler. Right there, 27 years old. Shot over a dispute with a fellow miner. Buried here in Boot Hill for all of us to come and visit. Definitely a mandatory stop if you're in Tombstone to check out Boot Hill. This place is super famous, and for good reason too. It's a pretty unique set of circumstances that led so many of these people to be here. Unknown graves and just countless murders. Very crazy. It's only $3 to get in here too, and they give you this cool little pamphlet that tells you about a lot of the people that were buried here. So, like I said, mandatory stop. Classic Boot Hill Cemetery. Very worthy stop. So we are right here on Fremont Street, where the infamous shootout happened. And sure enough, right here on this same street is the man's house. The Wyatt Earp house and something. I can't tell. Gallery. That was it. Alright, this part down here is kind of interesting. Says that Wyatt and Maddie lived right here at this house. Virgil and his gal right across the street. Wyatt would have lived right here, and just there would have been Virgil's house. In fact, that is still called Virgil's Corner. House is still here today. People like me to visit. Now over here we got a statue of the man, yet another one, just like we saw in Tucson. Oh, Wyatt. Alright, time to go find some accommodations. Oh, now I see my people. It said overnight parking, lower lot, and I see some other vans. Yeah. Look at the deer! This is where we're camping. Oh my god, how freaking cool is that? There's a whole family of deer just chilling. Galloping through majestically. Like, how do we get back to nature? Rebellious deer. That sign clearly says no trespassing. How cool, a whole family of them. Alright, I gotta do one more round down Allen Street. Check out this nightlife. First place, Big Nose Kate's. Let's check it out.
Still I think about the years since I first met you, and the way things might have been without you. I don't know the words to speak that still upset you, but I just got to make this memory stand. So I'm leaving here.
Place was fun. Gotta say, respectable nightlife here. Given that it is Friday evening, fairly late, but gotta say, a lot of these bars got a good little crowd in there. A lot of locals. Local brew here. I didn't realize this was an IPA.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're alright, sweetheart.
Hi.
Oh, you're not sorry. It is chilly out here. It's like 42 degrees and it's definitely windy. And according to the locals, that's kind of outside the norm in terms of the windiness. Goodness. But, ooh, here, checking out some cool shit. Here we go. The Oriental Saloon. Still open and rocking. Looks like they got some karaoke going in there as well. Who would have guessed? Man, gotta check this one out. Thank you, sir.
I'm coming through the Oriental man, trying to decide which way to go. These empty miles are memories.
Man, that place is jumping. I love it. Very late nights here in Tombstone. Man, we got karaoke singing at whatever time this is. I think it's about midnight, which realistically, that's not that late. Grand scheme of things, that's kind of an early night, but just got to my campgrounds, so to speak, for the night. It's really a campground. It's more of just a random parking lot that they allow overnight parking in. And I gotta say, it's gotten kind of crowded here. Really filled up. Woo, now we're talking. That's gonna about do it for my day and night here in Tombstone. Hope you enjoyed watching. Time for chicken.